What is going on with the New York Rangers and a whole lot more on the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and still getting this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, my fantasy fanatics, and welcome back inside the lab to your daily 30-minute source for all things fantasy hockey. It is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, where we gotta show love to the everydayers who continue to hold us down and make us their first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. My friend, Mr. Rodin, is going to give you guys a whole bunch of details on our Everydayers Club. You want to be tapping in to this Discord server. More details to come, but we also need to let you know that we are the #1 sports podcast network here on the Locked On Sports Podcast Network, which means, Steele, today's show, like our episode, we're going to break down right now, Metro Division, so much going on. And that's why you guys need to have your finger on the pulse. The Rangers, the Devils, Dougie Hamilton, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Are they for real? A whole bunch of different topics that are impacting your squad. Let's start with the Rangers, though, Steele, because it's really ugly in New York. Interestingly enough, the Islanders looking a whole lot better. Calls for Chris Drury's job. Really bad decisions in the front office. Over to you, because to me, it's gone from bad to uglier, and I don't know what your take is, so over to you. Hit me with what you're seeing here, fantasy or otherwise.
I mean, I tweeted this out the other day on the channel podcast platform. It doesn't make any sense. I said, oh, how the mighty have fallen. They need to blow up this team, trade the farm, and just completely start over with Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin. At this point, Vincent Trocheck, he would be looking damn good in that dark green Minnesota Wild jersey. They got to trade him. Mika Zibanejad, they got to trade him. Artemi Panarin, they got to trade him. Alexis Lafreniere, they got to trade him. You start this club over with Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin and just completely rebuild and revamp quickly with all of those players I just suggested. I think you hold on to a guy like Will Cooley. He's got a ton of value, a ton of talent up front. He plays the game the right way with the physicality, digging for pucks and battling in the offensive zone and forechecking like an absolute dog out there. They need to blow this up. And I feel terrible for Mike Sullivan, who I don't think he deserves what has transpired this season. And, maybe you could put a little bit of blame on him, but I don't like to go down that road because we've seen it time and time again of head coaches getting the brunt of the blame on a year-to-year basis, and they end up getting fired after a year or two. I feel bad for Mike Sullivan. I feel bad for the New York Rangers fan base. You get absolutely pumped by the Ottawa Senators 4-0 in the first period, lose 8-4. You get booed at MSG. You have the worst home record in the league. And again, 2 years ago, before they had traded Jacob Trouba and they had made a couple of trades midseason, they were the top team in the Eastern Conference. They were the one to look out for. And that's why I say, oh, the mighty have fallen, because it was a complete nosedive over the last year and a half for this organization, and they need to quickly rebuild this team.
And I really don't know why there has been such a repeated amount of poor decision-making from this front office, and it really funnels down from the ownership. James Dolan does not know what he is doing with his franchises, and I know the Knicks are okay. And I'm not trying to get away on a tangent that's not away from fantasy hockey, because these are the angles here. This team has made so many bad decisions, from last year's handling of Trouba and Chris Kreider to what's going on this year. It's just been piss poor, Steele. And now you're seeing the effect on the ice. And look, Igor Shesterkin was almost the glue holding it all together at tatters. There's a number of different issues here for me. JT Miller has been an absolute ghost and has not owned up to what this team has not done. So fantasy, that's number one on my SHIT list. JT Miller, where have you been at? Because that is not good enough when you are the captain of a very big club in the New York Rangers that you and I have spoke highly about. Number two, since Shesterkin has gone out, Steele, and I had their schedule up here, Shesterkin went out back on the 5th against the Mammoth. They then go on to lose 5-2, 10-2, 4-2, and 8-4. John Quick has been awful. So, we like to jump on this show and say, have a look at the backup in-house. It's an away season from the New York Rangers. To rein this into fantasy, it's been awful. They throw money at Lafreniere. It did nothing. They're getting nothing out of some of these peripheral pieces. I think I agree with you. Might be time to blow it up. I don't know, though, headed down the stretch, if there's still some value you could pluck here and there. But if there is, it's in the players that you kind of alluded to. Will Cooley maybe in deeper leagues still going to get you those banger league peripherals? Vincent Trocheck, 27 points in 34 games, steady as she goes. I don't get it, Steele, because there are far too many good players on this team. Without Shesterkin, they've been really exposed.
Look, there's still fantasy value. Whether the team is winning or losing, they can continue to score goals. I know they suck at home in that regard, but they typically still stand out when it comes to fantasy points. Mika Zibanejad has been pretty good so far as one of those sleeper deep cuts. Again, we talked about as one of those mid to late round picks in the fantasy draft. Will Cooley, I still think, brings a ton of value, whether he's getting on the score sheet or not. The physicality, like I said, shots on net. Vincent Trocheck does the exact same thing, but a little bit more offensive production. And you know what you're going to get from Artemi Panarin on a nightly basis as well. And like you said, since Igor Shesterkin has gone down in those 4 to 5 games, they've allowed 30 goals. Jonathan Quick's been pulled twice. And this is not the JT Miller that I was talking about, 2-3 years ago on a consistent basis.
Agreed.
That's my boy still. I absolutely love him, and I'm not going to just jump off ship because he's not producing and not playing well. He's still my boy, but he's not even, he's a shell of himself right now. Mm-hmm. And, obviously a lot transpired in Vancouver. He gets traded there to New York. You think everything's going to be, all dandy and well, and he's going to be sort of the face of this organization as he gets the captaincy. And I know Artemi Panarin's been there for a while, but his name's out there on the trade mill as well. It's ugly right now in New York. And I mean, they need to figure out something quick. And again, to be fair, it's not like they're out of it. I mean, they've got 46 points. They are 8 points out of a playoff spot right now. They're not out of it by any means, but if they don't correct the ship and right the ship, like I was talking about with the Ottawa Senators, they will be out of it sooner rather than later.
And if you're juggling your fantasy roster, the New York Rangers are right now a very volatile situation that, after Adam Fox and Artemi Panarin and in the really balanced deeper leagues, Vinny Trocheck, I'm being very, very wary of what I'm doing or even looking at the New York Rangers at all, Steele, because it straight up stinks. It does right across the river as well in New Jersey right now, Steele, in terms of what I think is going on with Dougie Hamilton. And this is a conversation that's going to continue after the break. But for a club in the New Jersey Devils that, they've won their last 2 games, but before that, they only had 2 wins out of their previous 10 games and losing in really embarrassing fashion. Rumors are swirling. Calls for trades are coming. Performance is really falling by the wayside. I'm really intrigued for your take on this because when I look at the scoring for this team this season, I know Jack Hughes has been banged up. I really don't know. I can't put a finger on why they have been so poor, but a lot of it has to do with that back end. Aside from what Jake Allen has been able to provide, it is a bit of a mess in New Jersey. So over to you. The Dougie Hamilton rumors, let's discuss, but the team overall we can discuss as well, perhaps in more detail after the break.
Yeah, let's talk about it after the break in more detail, and then obviously we'll get to the Pittsburgh Penguins and big-time bets at the end of the episode.
And that's what happens when your boy rambles on. However, fantasy takes to be had. You need to know what's going down across the NHL, and we'll do that on every single episode wrapped up by big-time bets. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. There is nothing like Being near the ice during hockey season, the speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. Watching the game at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was getting the tickets, long queues, endless screens, prices changing at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. The hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Pull out the Game Time app, check out the upcoming NHL games. Just like Steele and I, couple of taps, tickets ready to go. Easy, cheap, and very, very secure. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL. That is LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download the app today.
And thank you so much for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey your first listen every single day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to get all of the latest episodes. And thank you so much for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, you got to go check out the new Everydayer Club. You get access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Fantasy Hockey or any Locked On channel you want to listen to. It's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You also get access to the Discord server, which includes a group chat for just the listeners of this show. You want to ask any questions to Flip and I or anyone else in the Discord channel, go ahead. We could also bring it on to the episode for a mailbag episode as well. We want to hear from you out there. It's all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. So you can go to lockedonfantasyhockey.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. We really do appreciate it and continue to grow that hockey community on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast channel. Thank you so much for all of that. Flip. Mm-hmm. It is also pretty bad in New Jersey. And again, they're not out of it by any means. Fantasy value wise, still a lot to love with the organization and what this team brings. Mm-hmm. But to me, when Jack Hughes went down to the injury, and yeah, when he goes down to that injury at that point in the season, I mean, this team was top of the Metropolitan. They were first or second in the division. Right. And when he goes down with that injury, the New Jersey Devils lost the heartbeat of the team. As Nico Heischer's the captain, he's the leader, but Jack Hughes is the heartbeat. He provides the blood and the flow for that organization with his creativity, his skill set in the offensive zone. You lose him, and obviously it hurts for your fantasy team, but they lost him, and they lost their mojo. They lost their momentum. And I think that's what's kind of happened to them is they haven't been able to quite get that back. But also at the same time, I have both Jacob Markstrom and Jake Allen. They have not been great over the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks. They have been very inconsistent. A lot of soft goals going in. I don't even put a lot of this on that back end. And I know there's been a lot of rumors around Dougie Hamilton, which we're going to get to in a minute. But they have not been the tandem in what we expected them to be this year, at least on a consistent basis. So that goes to show you that sometimes you might need to make a change, which we saw the Edmonton Oilers do, and look how they've been great so far. And I know Tristan Jarry went down to injury, but that could be happening potentially if Dougie Hamilton is moved. And I know he's got a lot of cap, or he's got a lot of money on his cap, on his contract.
It's true.
And there's obviously the rumors going around between the New Jersey Devils and the Toronto Maple Leafs, if you want to dive into that. But Dougie Hamilton could be on the move even before the trade deadline in March comes around.
I think we can talk about that and landing spots for Dougie Hamilton on another show, because I did want to mention to you off air, let's do like a trade bait board special. We like looking at all the big names that could be on the move. That's a great episode. Sure. Let's do that soon, because Dougie Hamilton will make it, because I've got a few angles that I want to cover here. The other night after he was benched, Steele, a very interesting move. Clearly, this guy is on his way out in New Jersey. Say what you will about the Devils, because yes, the goaltending super disappointing, but not to, I got to rein myself in here. The team's not scoring enough goals. They are the bottom 5 club in the NHL right now for goals for. Only the Canucks, Kings, Blues, and Flames has scored less goals. Those are some really bad teams on the offensive end, and I know the Kings kind of make up for it in other ends. But if you're talking about the Blues, the Flames, and the Canucks, and you're in the mix there, Steele, you're not going to be making noise in the postseason. However, fantasy-wise, for Dougie Hamilton, the other night after being benched to bring this conversation even longer, 2 assists, +3, 2 shots on net, 2 block shots, and ice time well over 19 minutes of ice time a night. This is a spot where I still think this guy can serve a ton of value. It stinks there right now in Jersey for him. He wants out badly. You mentioned the contract, all of that thing. But I think a change of scenery here could really produce a ton of fantasy value. Like I said, the Devils just not playing good hockey of late. And when I look at the team overall and I look at the Metro Division, you made a really excellent point about where they were previously. I don't see a spot for this club in the Metro Division, Steele, unless something really serious changes with that goaltending. So that's my take there. Fantasy value still up front to be had. However, if there's some changes here to this club and they start selling off pieces, right now you need to keep your finger on the pulse.
And I have a great take for Dougie Hamilton when we do that episode on the trade bait board and where potential landing spots could be, but I'll save that for that upcoming episode for a trade bait board fantasy value wise. But I think that's a perfect segue right into the Pittsburgh Penguins as we talk about the Metropolitan Division. New Jersey looks like they're going to be out. Obviously, the Rangers looks like they're going to be out, down and out as well. Pittsburgh Penguins, 2 points out of a playoff spot right now. Obviously led by Sid the Kid, who just continues to amaze us on a nightly basis and what he provides. 2 points out, like I said, 52 points on the season, 21-14-10 record in 2025-26. When I look at this Metropolitan Division and also the Atlantic Division with it, of course, because of those 2 wildcard spots, I really like the team and how they've played. Like I said, they've been defensively one of the better teams over the last, 5 to 7 game stretch. Stuart Skinner's looked really solid. Shelov's has looked really solid as well. But when you got the Hurricanes, when you've got the Islanders who are pumping blood right now, Washington Capitals, I know I hold the Capitals to a higher degree than you do, but I still think they're a better team. You've got the Philadelphia Flyers, even though they're on this 3-game skid, I think they've got some great options as well. I'm not quite sure the Pittsburgh Penguins fall into a playoff spot here just because of how dangerous and, how dangerous that Atlantic Division is. I think 5 teams from the Atlantic will be in the playoffs this season.
And that's totally fair, Steele. This isn't a spot where I think I can pick you apart on anything that you just said, but let me sell you on the Pittsburgh Penguins a little bit, and then we can talk about this in another episode. By the way, you guys want to get in on some of this merch, perhaps maybe you need to be jumping into the Discord server. We might know a guy or two. Check it out. If you're not seeing it, YouTube, we got the custom Locked On Fantasy Hockey tees. Get in after it. How about this, Steele? I know I just mentioned it again, and I'll continue to about special teams headed towards the postseason. The Pittsburgh Penguins have the 7th best penalty kill in the NHL. How about the power play? Crept up to the 3rd best power play in the NHL, clicking at almost 28%. Only the Dallas Stars and Edmonton Oilers perform better on the man advantage right now. And all you need to know is this: the month of January that you kind of alluded to, kicked off by back-to-back wins against one of the hottest teams in the NHL in the Detroit Red Wings. Then big wins against the Devils and the Blue Jackets, and then 1-0 losses to the Tampa Bay Lightning, red hot, and the Boston Bruins, also a good club. So this team is going to be knocking on the door, and I'm saying it is a playoff team because Sid has this window that's now about to slam shut. Erik Karlsson going down now is tricky because really Kyle Dubas has to understand what to do here. This team is going to be looking at being buyers. I don't know how, but if they're this close, Steele, and Sid is putting up numbers, Kyle Dubas has to. He owes it to 87. And what I have with this takeaway about fantasy value as well, to draw it full circle, Brian Rust having a great year. Evgeny Malkin now back in the fold. Have a look. Anthony Mantha, 30 points in 45 games. That's fantasy value. There are some angles to consider here. I believe you touched on Stuart Skinner. Take us to break, my friend. We can mention the Penguins after the break. Big time bets. Let's get after it. I think these Penguins might be sneaky come wild card time.
It's going to be close. This is the tightest we've ever seen the conferences and the standings From what I can remember, and maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins get in there, I would like to see Sidney Crosby, of course, in postseason fashion once again. When we come back, big time bets. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. This episode is also brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs help your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steele Rodin. Flip, if you want to get to big time bets, I'm really feeling these picks for Friday night to start off the weekend here. Over to you, my friend. Any Pittsburgh Penguin final roll call here or straight to the big time bets?
No roll call. I just think that there is still going to be a bunch of situations down the stretch with Sidney Crosby. Even though he's going to the Olympics, you get a piece of what's going on around 87 this year. There is going to be value to be had down the stretch. That's what I have to say about that. Over to you. Let's have a look at your bets. You put me on the microscope the other night. I want to hear what you're working with first.
Well, I banged out on Wednesday night my 3 picks, even though the Rangers lost. Panarin, Hughes, Tage Thompson, anytime assist. They all hit on Wednesday night. I'm still, as we record, waiting for those Thursday picks to pan out as well. But Friday, I'm really feeling these ones. Again, I'm dialing the actual bet down, but I'm really confident with these picks going into Friday. Number one, you talked about those Detroit Red Wings, one of the hottest teams. I'm going after them here on Friday night. Red Wings, puck line, plus 106 versus the San Jose Sharks. They are 6-1-3 in the last 10 games. They have a great home record this year. This is also the second game of a back-to-back for the Sharks. They took on those Capitals last night. Second pick, Lightning on the puck line at plus 130 against the St. Louis Blues. 100%. They have tied a franchise record 11 win streak. They're also 6-3-1 in their last 10 games against the Blues. All 6 of those by 2 or more goals. Let's just finish it off with the cherry on top. Avalanche on the puck line, minus 128 against the Nashville Predators. I'm not even going to dive deep into that one. They have the best home record of any team in the National Hockey League right now. 19-0-3. They've only lost 3 in overtime, 0 in regulation. The Avalanche, the Lightning, the Red Wings, all on the puck line to start off the weekend.
And I'm going to keep mine short, simple, and sweet. This same game parlay, big flip, triple dip, however you want to call it, almost cashed in a big way for us the other night, Steele, with Edmonton. Got burned by the Oilers there, dropping that one to the Predators. However, in his previous 4 games, Nikita Kucherov had 9 assists. Last game, though, held off the score sheet against those Pittsburgh Penguins. So your odds are going to be a little bit inflated here. For my lock of the night, a Nikita Kucherov anytime assist, 44 assists in 41 games this season for Nikita Kucherov in his career against the St. Louis Blues. 15 assists in 19 career regular season games. So lock of the night out of the way early. Tampa Bay on the money line. I'm copping out heavy along with a low odd with Kucherov. You're still in a same game parlay, taking the over here as well and getting a really good payout. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning absolutely roll in this situation. They obviously are on an impressive heater. 6-2 in their last 8 against St. Louis. They have also won 7 straight games on the road. A really good road team. So over 6.5. Let's go with the Tampa Bay Lightning on the money line and Nikita Kucherov anytime assist. I believe this is going to get you paid out at around 3-1 on your money. It's hammer time with that. You got some cash in the account. Time to sprinkle, my friend. Those are the 3 picks.
And that's what we're doing here. Big time bets. We're sprinkling all over the 5-game board here. Lock of the night. We appreciate you. We love you out there. Thank you so much for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey your first listen. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all of the latest episodes. You can follow us on X at LO_fantasy NHL. And if you never want to miss an episode or you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Join the Discord chat. You get ad-free.
Join it.
Like I said, members only Discord access with Flip and I. Ask any questions you want. It's just a channel and a chat where you can talk fantasy hockey with a group of friends out there. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure you make your second listen NHL game night on Locked On NHL.
Peace.